Okay, so we're really pleased to have Troy as our special guest again. I do have more friends than one, but he's somebody that we're uh, familiar with in our church. And with all of this theme of the Black Lives Matters and all the stuff that's been in the news recently, I thought it would be a good topic for us for our cafe church. So I've just got a few questions that we've discussed, and Troy is willing to share with us some of these feelings and experiences that he's had over the course of his life. So thanks, Troy, for agreeing to do this. So can you tell us then what it was like for you growing up as a Black person through your younger years and maybe as a young adult?
Sure, sure. I know, I was just going to say, but I know we've been over these questions, but if I forget anything or if I ramble on, you can just nudge me and get me back on track, so to speak. So yeah, my early experience really. Well, I was born in Luton, which is just above London, and I suppose I would classify it as a fairly diverse town. But when I was growing up, especially as a young kid, it was very segmented. So you had an area called Marsh Farm, which was I don't know if it's majority, but there was it was mainly Jamaican British people living there, people from Jamaica and their kids who were born in Britain. And then in Bury Park, you had a majority Bangladesh and Pakistan presence, people from that area of the world. And so when we moved to that area, to Bury Park, when I was young, when I started school in those areas, as a young kid, I remember a lot of the children just being quite open with racial taunts and kind of like, oh, you're black, you're dirt, you know, you're a nigger, you don't know what you're saying, and all this sort of stuff. And they were just kids, you know, 5, 6 years old, same age as me. So my mum went to speak to a teacher about it on numerous occasions. But the teachers at the school I wish I remained nameless, just couldn't. One of their responses was, "Well, you're all black anyway, so I don't see how you can be affected by it. I don't understand the problem. They're just having a laugh with you. What's the problem?" So that kind of misunderstanding of a completely different culture and ethnicity really kind of highlighted the problem for me, even at a young age. So my mum took me out of that school, and we moved about a few places. But I found myself generally one of maybe two or three black kids in an entire school. I must have gone to about 3 or 4 different schools growing up, and I always stood out. It was always expected that I was some sort of, oh, he's black, so he's very tough, he's rough. Don't mess with him, mate. But because of that, I always got into fights, and I found out very early on that people didn't expect you to they didn't expect me anyway to just take the peaceful route. They wanted, you know, well, you're a black man, so you're gonna fight, you're gonna stand up for yourself, you're gonna really give back as good as you get. So I felt like I had to do that while growing up. Even when I moved to Bristol, and I started attending more schools that were majority, I suppose, were white people. The majority of schools were white rather than Asian or Middle Eastern. So I still found the same thing. I definitely felt a sense of standing out. I felt I had to act a certain way because of the color of my skin. Even teachers, the PE teacher would always say, "Oh, I know you'll be good at sprinting, Troy." And I'm sure he meant it in a joking kind of like way, but it just kind of set the stage that you're this kind of person. You're not like the others. Different things are expected from you simply because of the color of your skin. And thankfully, from an early age, my parents always taught me to stand up for myself, and they taught me to be proud of all my physical characteristics, you know, whether it's skin color or hair or nose, mouth, whatever. They always taught me to that they were equally as valid as anybody else's, and to stand up for myself on these issues when trouble came up about it. Not to just weakly kind of, okay, well, we'll have a joke and we'll have a laugh, but just kind of set the stage and say, no, this isn't right. I guess it's funny because even when I started attending more senior schools, when I started attending senior schools, I attended one that was much more diverse. A huge population of the school were black, like myself. And then I had it the other way. People, the black kids would say, you know, why do you talk so like you're posh? You know, why do you have such a straight nose? Why do you think you're better than us? Not everybody, but it was clear then that the impression was, if you're black, you've got to have a certain kind of attitude, a kind of swagger about you. You know, even amongst, and they were just parroting what society had kind of reflected onto them. So it made me smile because I wasn't that kind of person really, and my mate Desmond wasn't either. So we kind of got along really well. And it made me laugh because frequently people outside of school would say, "Oh, mate, do you know where to get any green?" You would know, wouldn't you? I'd be outside with some white kids and they say, "Well, you know where to get weed from. What? You've never smoked? You've never smoked it." I remember when the teacher said that, she went, "You've never smoked weed, Troy?" I said, "No." "Why? Has every person in the school smoked weed?" No. Okay. So I found that amusing. But yeah, I suppose through school, yeah. So that was my experiences. Kind of always standing out for one reason or another. Never quite fitting in because of the colour of my skin and my acting.
So you are actually quite good at sprinting, though, aren't you?
I was. I don't know if I am anymore. I've my makeup has changed. My diet has changed a little bit since those early days.
So in the news, you often hear, well, especially in America, but you do hear about it in the news in the UK. You hear that, you know, a lot of young adults or teenage black boys get stopped by the police, stopped and searched or arrested or suspected. Was that the case for you or not so much?
In regards to the police, no. I suppose not really, actually. I never really had much encounters where the police would stop me as I was just going about my business and question me where I was going, ask, see what's in my bag, accuse me. You know, I never really had any experiences like that. That's just my personal experience. I can't speak for anybody else. But I did notice when I got a bit older, and I'd kind of get into a few scrapes with my college mates, and the police would come around and catch us doing something we shouldn't, or see us about to have a fight with another group of college students. They'd always they'd do one of two things. They'd either treat me like I was the troublemaker, or weirdly enough, kind of respect me as the toughest one of the group. So they'd either kind of keep an eye on me all the time to see what I was doing. You know, what's going on here? You know, did you get up to any trouble yourself? No, you weren't the troublemaker. Oh, okay. Or they'd make jokes like, "Well, look at him. You know, he could have taken the whole lot of you out by himself. You know what I mean? He could have done an all over." And I was like, "Well, this guy's bigger than me over there. I guess because I'm black, I'm more dangerous. I'm more violent. You know, I don't know." So that made me laugh a lot. But I never, apart from that, you know, sometimes I'd play into it. I'd say to the police like, yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm rough. You know, don't mess with me. You know, I felt I could turn the situation to my advantage, but I never wanted to be one of those guys who used the race card all the time. I never wanted to say, "Oh, well, police, you're against me because I'm black." If that wasn't the case, I didn't want to unjustly accuse them of racism when I didn't feel they were giving it to me, so to speak. That makes any sense.
And then what about? I'm sort of careful not to underplay the Black Lives Matter sort of thing. But do you think that it's Black Lives Matter, or do you think that it's All Lives Matter?
Oh, well, I don't really think it's a case of Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter. I don't think that's the case at all. I like to quote First Samuel, and I am going to look at this because First Samuel chapter 16, verse 7. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. So that kind of sets the stage. Like the Lord isn't really interested in, oh, what skin color do you have? You know, can I show favoritism to you because you're a certain skin color or this? He's looking for your heart. He's looking for your response to him. And, you know, I mean, the Bible speaks about God creating every color and creed and makes it clear many times that he's the author of life, that he formed us in our mother's womb. He's the one who gave us these many different ethnic characteristics. I remember a kid recently saying to me, "Oh, Troy, how come you've got a different skin color to me?" And I said, "Well, that's the way God made me. God chose to give me the skin color. He chose to give my parents the skin color." I said, "How come your sister has dark hair and you have brown hair?" He said, "Oh, that's just the way she was born." I said, "Yeah, she didn't choose it. It's not afflicted to her for something she did. It's just the way that God made her. And most likely she will have kids that have brown hair, but maybe not. Most likely I will have kids who are similar skin color to me, but my wife is Filipino and has a strong kind of Japanese appearance due to her mixed heritage as well. So you never know. You never know what someone will look like. But anyway, so yeah, my point is that we're reminded that there's really no race before God. There's neither Jew nor Gentile, and that we're all brothers in Christ. You know, we're all alive because God's breathing life into us. He's the creator of the whole human race. So from a biblical, godly point of view, you know, God says you all belong to me. You all started from me, and you all belong to me. There's no distinction between different types of man. There is only man and his response to my call. By the way, I'm also not trying to say that Black Lives Matter isn't real. I'm not trying to say that highlighting the suffering of particular groups of people is wrong. I'm not trying to say that. There are people who are ostracized for their skin color, people who are ostracized for wearing glasses, which was another thing growing up. People are ostracized for having ginger hair. You know, these people need to be told as well that they matter. That having glasses is just as affirming as and unique as not wearing glasses. That having ginger hair is just as cool and special as not having ginger hair or having any kind of hair. And that doesn't make it okay for others to bully you. So in this instance, in terms of the Black Lives Matter, I don't see anything wrong with the slogan Black Lives Matter because it doesn't exclude the importance of lives of people with a different skin color. It just includes the validity of the life of a person with black skin. If this was if in a different situation in South Africa, where white farmers were targeted, we could talk about, you know, racism then, you know. We could also talk about the apartheid before it, but another subject. So yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, one of the things that I saw a couple of weeks ago was a discussion between two pastors, one black and one white, and they were saying that you know, it's a bit like two houses that are on fire. Well, two houses, you could say all houses matter, but one of the houses was on fire, and so at this particular time, that house matters. Doesn't all houses matter? Yeah, all houses matter, but let's let's put this one right first.
Yeah.
And so I suppose that's the way to look at it, that all lives matter, but at the moment there was an unjust situation with George Floyd and various other things, and all of these things that you're talking about as well, that maybe ignorance has led at the very least, has led to black people feeling less than others. So, okay, thanks for that. So the last thing then to lead on from there is, what could white people learn, or what do we need to learn, non-black people? What do non-black people need to learn from this time?
Okay, well, it's an interesting way you phrased it. By the way, you said it led to black people feeling less worth than others. That's an interesting statement, because yes, it led to lower self-worth within black people themselves, but it was also a consequence of the oppression they were under. It wasn't just like, maybe that's the reason black people feel bad. It's, yes, they feel bad because of what's happened to them. Well, anyway, so you said, what do white people or non-black people need to know about the issue, if Black Lives Matter? Well, one thing I've noticed myself is that people who suffer from one kind of discrimination, they don't always find it easy to recognize others who suffer from a different kind of discrimination. So, for example, people in Wales, they, especially up in North Wales, I found out that they can easily identify how they've been oppressed and how they've been looked down upon by the English. I know you yourself have shared that being Irish, or having some sort of Irish descent, in school, the schoolmaster will kind of pick on you for it, or pick you out for it, and kind of say stuff to you, the teacher, in front of other people, and try and make you feel bad. So the Welsh people would easily identify how they've been looked down upon as a people group. But they might not always be able to equate that with how people with black skin feel when experiencing discrimination and racism from others. And I myself, I'm not trying to say black people are, somehow immune from not being able to equate this, or not just black people, people in general. I know myself that although I'm very sensitive towards racial discrimination, I try to identify it straight away when I or anyone else might be suffering from it, even indirectly. I remember when I heard you guys calling somebody, well, I say you guys, but I heard thrown around in one of the meetings I was going to, this nickname for a guy who'd come out from prison called Packy Hamilton. Now, the guy was fine with it. He had a joke with it. He had a laugh with it. He didn't mind it. But it wasn't appropriate to give him that nickname. It just wasn't appropriate to throw it around like that. To throw around that racist insult as a joke. Oh, look at your tan skin. You're kind of like a Packy Hamilton. It's just totally out of order. So I identify that kind of thing, even when it's happening to other people, even when the person isn't offended themselves. But even though I can identify that, I admit when I came to Wales, I found myself astonished that people in Wales, they didn't see this oppression by the English as something that happened, years and centuries ago, mate. That oppression was long. We're all okay now. No, they saw it as something very real that they still felt effects of today. So when I said, I'll admit this, I said, it might be easier just to speak English rather than Welsh, wouldn't it? I mean, you're all part of the same country. And they were like, no, we've got our own cultural identity, we've got our own heritage, and it's kind of offensive because of what the English have tried to do. They've tried to wipe out the Welsh language, and in ignorance, not meaning anything, you're perpetuating the same stereotype that the Welsh language isn't worth anything and we should speak English. So it's something I had to learn. And I think we could all do with taking the time to understand other people groups. Whether you're grouping people, whether people are grouped by color, or whether they're grouped by me wearing glasses and you not wearing glasses, or whether it's by gender, or all women versus all men, no matter what it is, I think we could do with time to understand other people groups. Even if it's by the football team, even if it's by, you're Chelsea, you lot, and we're Arsenal. We could really try and treat people how we ourselves want to be treated. The second greatest command in the Bible is to love your neighbor as yourself, and not just to say, well, I'm okay with with doing stuff to myself, so therefore I can do it to other people. It's as loving them as you would literally love them as yourself. Literally love them as another person like yourself. Maybe I didn't come out, but anyway, just to consider how God views our talk and thoughts of others. I think if we sometimes view our joking and our sometimes unconscious bias of other people, like I know some people who see gypsies, automatically they imagine we're up to no good. Just automatically, no matter what. They've got a bad reputation, therefore it's okay for me to prejudge them all. We've got to consider how God views our talk and how God views our thoughts of others, even if other people seem okay with it. And we really ought to see other people as how God sees them, as individual whom he loves and was willing to die for. And then it wouldn't just stop us. If we could do that, if we could just view people as unique created beings in the image of God, in God's own image, if we could view people as that, then it wouldn't just be a matter of, okay, we won't say words that we know we shouldn't. Actually, it would change our whole attitude. It'd give us a new appreciation for our fellow man and a new heart to see anybody come to know Jesus Christ. That's the people group we need to worry about. Those who don't know him.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks then, Troy. We'll move on to the groups, and we'll discuss some of these things that we've heard you speak of. But thanks for being honest and being willing to share.
Yeah,
to sort of come and talk about these things in a way, I didn't want to sort of single you out as one of my only black friends. So but at the same time, it's a topical issue, isn't it? And
it is. It's important to remember that these are labels we create ourselves. I mean, one of my grandmothers is white. She's from this country. I'm from this country, but she's white. Now, I don't look like I have any white heritage within me. Does that mean I'm black because of how I look, or because of my ethnicity, or because of my parents? Do you know what I'm saying? Really, I see the whole desire to keep categorizing people and say, you're black. This is what makes a black person. It moves and changes all the time. Because what makes a black person? Somebody with dark skin from Africa? What about people not born there? Oh, okay, well, that makes them this. That makes them this. That makes them this. We put so much emphasis on skin color when it should only be used to describe how a person looks, not to categorize and segment them. For all you know, Tim, and I've seen people who have DNA tests and they look like you, turns out they got black DNA in them. So, yeah, anyway, I'm going off into another tangent, sorry.
Yeah, and there's a lot more we could discuss, really, with some of the things like if we go somewhere, if we've been somewhere together, and sometimes people will say, oh, where are you from? And you say, oh, Luton. And they say, no, like, where are you from? I mean, like, where did your family sort of hail from? Yeah. And I always find that a little bit awkward. I mean, what is it? If somebody said that to me, oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm a bit of a mixed bag anyway, but if I said Gower, I spent quite a lot of my childhood years, and they said, oh, but, they wouldn't then follow that up, would they? Yeah, even though they could do, and I would then say, oh, well, Dublin, or, Northern Ireland, or Dundee.
They wouldn't think to.
Right? How far could I go back with knowing? But they just assume that obviously you're not really from Luton. Where are you from, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think and also sometimes people, they haven't said this, in front of me, but I remember you said it with your brother, like, that people say, like, I don't know if it's a joke that you do, or if people really have said it, but like, that you speak so well.
Oh yeah,
There's an assumption that you wouldn't speak well or something.
Yeah, that was another. Yeah, people would say, "Oh, well, you've got a really nice speaking voice," and I say, "Well, how am I supposed to speak? Am I supposed to speak some kind of slang, jive, mix, kind of, what up, man?" Kind of just, really bad stereotype or something.
I know, yeah. So
I've done it myself. I've done it myself. There was a guy from Molly's Bible study, Dennis. Now, I remember saying to Dennis, I said, I'll save you my phone, but I've got another Dennis on my phone. So I'll save you as Chinese Dennis. He said, Troy, I actually found that offensive. And I said, oh, are you not Chinese? And he said, listen, I'm from Indonesia, okay? So just call me Dennis. And I can't remember his second name, but he said, just call me Dennis, second name. You don't need to classify me as Indonesian Dennis or Chinese Dennis. And I said, oh, actually, you're right, mate. You're right. And, you know, so even I've been guilty of doing it myself. I don't want to say everyone's evil except for me, you know.
Okay, well, there's some good points for discussion. So we'll wrap it up. And yeah, thanks again for doing that.
Sure. Sorry I went on a bit long.